Okay, today we're going to talk about characters. Okay? So I've pulled two different stories. One we're going to do together, and then one I'm going to let you kind of go off on your own. So what we're going to do today is we're going to see how we can kind of connect to the characters and what we can figure out about the characters. Remember how last year we talked about character traits?
No.
And we talked about what's one word you would use to describe Miss Craycraft?
Teacher.
Okay. One word I would use to describe Abby is pretty, or smart, or stubborn. You know what that word means?
Yes.
So, what's a word you would use to describe Avery Branson?
Artist.
Artistic. What's a word you would use to describe Mom?
A worker.
Hard worker. That's good. What's a word you would use to describe your brother, Bryson? It's okay, he's your brother. What are you thinking?
I don't know.
What about naughty?
Yes.
Is your brother naughty?
Yes.
Is he a good listener?
No.
No?
Not really.
What's a word you would use to describe your dog?
Bitey.
Crazy?
Yes.
Ferocious? No. Alright, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to read this story today. And we're going to look to see if we can figure out who these characters are and see if we can think of some character traits for them. And then we're going to kind of write character traits next to them. Okay?
It's Grandpa and Dylan.
How'd you know it was Grandpa and Dylan?
I just looked at this.
I'm glad you noticed. And there's a picture of who?
Grandpa, Dylan.
Probably. Alright, so this story is called Dylan Hits a Homer. And I would like for you to please read that story aloud to me.
Dylan's grandfather stood in the door. "Hi, Pa," he said. "I'm in the middle of a game," thought Dylan. "Hi, Gramps," he replied with a sigh. "I've got a surprise for you, Gramps." Continued. "What?" Dylan asked. "Maybe it's the new computer game I want," he thought, smiling. "It's a baseball," Gramps said. "Let's try it out, Dylan." Here.
Owl sound.
Frowned as he thought his bat and followed his grandfather outside. Gramps threw the ball. Dylan swung at it. Whack! Dylan watched the ball sail away. "You hit a homer," Gramps explained. "That's great," Dylan grinned. "Pitched another one," he exclaimed.
Good. Okay, now let's go back. This story's a little bit harder to read, and that's okay. But let's go back. So, at the beginning of the story, what was Dylan doing?
He was playing a game.
He was playing what kind of game? Looking at the picture, what kind of game was he playing?
A computer game.
A computer game, right? And when his grandpa walked in, how did Dylan feel?
Happy.
Well, let's go back and read it. Dylan's grandfather stood in the door. "Hi, pal," he said. "I'm in the middle of a game," thought Dylan. "Hi, Gramps," he replied with a sigh. Do you know what a sigh is? Like if I go,
Oh.
You've done that to me before. Maybe to Mom. Rather. Miss Watson. Have you done that to someone before?
No.
Sighing is kind of like rolling your eyes.
Oh.
It's not very respectful. you know? And so if it says with a sigh, so I'll do this one. If I underline sigh, and if I say, hi, Gramps, how do you think I'm feeling? Am I excited to see them?
No.
How do you think I'm feeling?
Sad.
Maybe. What? How do you feel when your brother's bothering you?
Mad.
Mm-hmm. Mad, or have you ever heard of the word annoyed?
No.
If I say you're being really annoying, what does that mean? If I say stop annoying me, that probably means you're bothering me,
Oh.
right? So I think he sounds annoyed here. So when he says this right here, and especially when he sighs, that tells me that he's annoyed that his grandpa's there. Have you ever been annoyed by your grandparents?
Mm-mm.
I haven't either, so I have a hard time having schema for that because I love my grandparents, and while I get to see them all the time,
He's
I don't think I'm
smiling
annoyed.
too.
Yeah, so he's excited to see him, but looking at his body language, does he look excited to see him?
Mm-mm.
No. So the next part.
My grandma and grandpa want to live close by us, but they can't because they can't sell their house.
Oh, yeah. So let's read the next part.
You don't get paid to work late.
What's in right here? Right here.
Yeah, go ahead and read the next
I've
part.
got a surprise
Thank
for
you.
you, Gramps continued.
Keep going.
Game. I want
Wait,
to. What
missed one of them.
Dylan asked. Maybe it's that new computer game I watched. I want him. He thought smiling.
Put your hands down for a minute. I think it's hard for you when you're playing with your hair. So Grandpa says he has a surprise for him. And after being annoyed with his grandpa, how's Dylan feeling now?
Happy.
Happy. So if somebody that we know is really annoying you, and all of a sudden they say they have a surprise for you, and then you're happy with them, is that a good thing?
Mm-mm.
What trait is that called? If you only like someone because they're going to give you stuff.
Mean.
Mean. Have you heard of the word? Let's write that. We write mean. I'm going to underline this. We write mean there. Have you heard of the word?
MEAN.
Mm-hmm. Have you heard of the word selfish before?
No.
You haven't?
Uh-uh.
So your mom's never said that's selfish? Maybe I was just a terrible child. If I said that's selfish, it means I'm only thinking of myself and I'm not thinking of someone else. So while my grandpa, let's say I'm Dylan, my grandpa's come over to see me because he wants to see me and give me a special present, all I care about now is that he's going to give me something. So that makes me selfish. Because I don't really care that he's there. I just want the stuff. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and there's the baseball, and he's also smiling.
Yeah. So that would, I don't know, if I was his grandpa, my feelings would be hurt, but maybe grandpa's just a really nice person. We'll go back and look at him next. So the next part, I'll read. It's a baseball, Gramps said. Let's try it out. Dylan frowned as he got his bat and followed his grandfather outside. Gramps threw the baseball. Dylan swung at it. Whack. Dylan watched the ball sail away. This part right here. What does this sentence say? Starting up here.
Dylan outside. Gramps.
Nope.
Oh. Dylan frowned as he got his bat and followed his grandfather outside.
What does frown mean? If I say someone frowned.
You make a face that's not very nice.
Yeah. So, how does Dylan feel now? He's frowning because he saw his baseball that his grandpa got him. How is he feeling now?
Mad.
Mad because it's a baseball. So, what's a word you'd use to describe Dylan now?
Not nice.
Mm-hmm. You want to write that next to it? I use the word selfish.
Right here.
Mm-hmm. We could say, what's another word that means not nice? We might need to get a thesaurus for us. Maybe we can get one on our iPad when we do it on our own.
What's
So we're saying
that?
Dylan's. A thesaurus is a kind of book that gives us different words that mean the same thing. So like, annoyed, bothered, those mean the same thing, but they're different words. I'll show you. So we're thinking that Dylan's not very nice here. I would say Dylan is rude.
Yeah.
Have you heard of that word before?
Yes.
That's kind of another rude for not being nice, right? I think that's kind of rude. His grandpa went and got him a baseball. Now, he just hit the ball and he watched the ball sail away. You hit a homer, Gramps exclaimed. That's great. Dylan grinned. Pitch another one, he exclaimed. But now what's a word you would use to describe him?
Happy.
Yeah, he's happy now. You want to write that down? I'm going to share some of my schema with you. And then when we do this next story, I want you to help me, okay? So, sometimes we all make mistakes, right? And sometimes I say things or I do something that I shouldn't or that I don't mean. And then when I go back, I feel something called guilt. Have you ever heard of that before? It means I feel bad for what I did. Have you ever felt that way before? Like, whoops, maybe I shouldn't have said that. Whoops, maybe I should have cleaned my room and Mom asked me to because now I'm in trouble. Whoops, maybe I should have fed the dog because now he's hungry and I feel bad. So I think that maybe Dylan feels guilty, but he's happy because he's finally happy playing with his grandpa. I think he probably feels guilty because he wasn't being very nice up here, right? So here's what we're going to do. We're going to take a quick break. And then when we come back, we're going to read another story. And this time, I would like for you to read it again. And then we're going to figure out some characteristics about Susie. Sound good? Okay.